Let me talk to the men out there listening real quick. Guys, are you suffering from erectile dysfunction, fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, brain fog, sleep disturbances? Hey, low libido, ask your girlfriend or wife. She'll let you know if you're suffering from that or not. That's sex drive. If you'll text my name, Clay, in all caps to 601-327-8550, 601-327-8550, Men's Health of Mississippi and the Clay Edwards Show are going to hook you up with a free testosterone screening. They're located in Madison, Mississippi at 120 Fountains Boulevard. You can check them out online, menshealthms.com. But one more time, text my name, all caps, Clay, to 601-327-8550 and get your free testosterone screening scheduled today. Enjoy the rest of this show. Like a shot of testosterone running through your veins from Men's Health of Mississippi. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards. I'm live here on 103.9 FM WYAB, streaming worldwide at WYAB.com, as well as the TuneIn app and Alexa. Just search WYAB. Of course, if you guys missed any of this, pick up your telephones. Go to whatever app you have on your phone that provides podcasts. Type in Clay Edwards Show, hit subscribe, get notifications, and bam, you can listen on demand every day. Usually by about 10 to 10:30 a.m., I've got it all posted, clipped up into different segments, the whole 9 yards. There's a good chance if you heard me talking about something, if I thought it was interesting enough, I clipped it out and put it there with a title that should be easily definable if you're looking for it. It does push over to YouTube at some point throughout the day, which is out of my control, the way the system works. So, but if you want to listen early and often, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, all of those are great. Your iPhone comes with a podcasting app. It's a little purple app already on your phone. It says podcast. You can go right there. That's the easiest one, in my opinion, to use when it works right. All right. I said this morning on my Facebook, let's beat a dead horse here on the show this morning. 2 hours of dead horse beating radio. That's a figure of speech, children. On your way to school this morning. Good morning to all y'all. We're not really beating a dead horse. Let your parents explain the figure of speech to you. But we are protecting y'all. And we are fighting to give you guys the so-called sane, not sane as in not insane, Mississippi that we had the privilege of growing up in as your parents and grandparents. Gosh. Some of my friends are actually grandparents that I'm the same age as. I'm glad I'm not one yet. Anyway, we got a big show lined up this morning. Coming up here in the next segment, I'm going to have our favorite Libertarian, Mike Madison, call in. He's on the road, but we're going to talk. I stumbled across something last night that I found really interesting. And I think it's a smart political play for both parties involved. I want to get Mike's take on that. Donald Trump is going to speak at the Libertarian National Convention. I don't think anything bad can come from it, but there's a lot of negativity online from libertarians about it. So I want to get his opinion on that because he's not a Trump guy, but he is a libertarian. And he has voted for Trump before. So I think he'll have an interesting take on it. Looking forward to hearing that. Coming up top of hour 2, we're going to have Russ Latino, Magnolia Tribune, unless anything changes. We're planning on having Russ on at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. He's going to discuss this referendum to put the Medicaid expansion in the hands of the voters. My gut reaction was I thought it was a good idea. Then I read Russ's reaction, and it may have changed my mind a little bit, or at least showed me another potential negative backlash from it. So we're going to have Russ on talk about that this morning. Very interesting stuff there. But let's circle back, as Jen Psaki would say. We spent a lot of time yesterday morning talking about this transgender bathroom nonsense. It's too stupid to be stupid. But thankfully, we got a couple good God-fearing patriots down at the Capitol. A couple common sense patriots. not white liberals cosplaying as conservatives down at the Capitol. We got Fred Shanks. We got Josh Harkins. We got Celeste Hurst. I'm going to throw Jill Ford's name out there, even though she's not directly involved in this. These are just people that I personally know. And based on their reactions and their involvement in this, I know they're trying to do the right thing. I feel like I've been the head of the Fred Shanks fan club the last couple of days, but I'm damn proud to call the man a friend. I want to say this right. I'm damn proud to call him my state rep. I'm even prouder to call him a friend because he didn't have to stand up. He didn't have to break rules when necessary. This didn't have nothing to do with him directly. Of course, it does. He has a daughter. So he has common sense and can see through this. They suspended the rules, bring the thing back up to vote. They're going to make some tweaks on it, make the penalties a little harsher for catching a nut job in the women's locker room or women's bathroom. And it should make it to the floor, I hope, this week to get a vote. And it's got to be here in the next couple of days. Session ends soon. So, we spend a lot of time giving politicians unmitigated hell. And I have picked at Fred relentlessly over the squatted truck thing, which just so happens to be his bill. But they did. They came together to eliminate squatted trucks, but they ain't been able to come together on just about anything else. But I appreciate them putting forth the effort to try to make this thing happen. And, of course, the backlash online has been as what you would expect. I feel like I've been quoting Russ Latino a lot lately, but I just never forget him sitting in here making the comment, if you only looked on Twitter, you would think Mississippi was a blue state. And I've thought that comment was dead on for the longest time. But I'm afraid that Russ is wrong. Now, if you just look at some of the crap happening at the Capitol, you would think Mississippi was a blue state. It's just worth mentioning. A super majority Republican state on paper. And they can't come together on passing a bill to protect our children from transgenders in bathrooms. And to me, it's not even about like legitimate, by definition, transgender people. People who have gender dysphoria. God bless those people. This is not about them. And this is typical of leftists to take the super duper. It's the same thing they do with abortion. Oh, but what about rape and incest? What about rape and incest? It's the same thing they do with that. They take this super duper, like if you got a whole piece of paper and you get a pen and you just put a period, just a little dot on the paper. That little dot is supposed to be representative of the entire sheet of paper. And it's just not. So, like I know, y'all know I love to say this. It's a quote from a Lil Wayne song. You know, he know, she know, everybody know. It ain't about them. It's about the nut jobs that put pronouns in their bio. The him, he, hers, they, thems. The gender confused. The social contagion victims. The gender confused. Did I say gender confused already? Well, I'm going to say it again. Mentally ill, crazy people. They want them to be able to go in the bathroom. Hold on, we're not going to just say they. We're going to put a name on it again this morning because I'm disgusted with this individual. Joey Hood, the committee chairman for the Judiciary A Committee, who let this thing die in conference yesterday. I told you I was beating a dead horse this morning. Because maybe you weren't listening yesterday. I want to make sure we revisit this today. Let a bill die that would protect our women and children sisters, mothers, girlfriends, wives. Some of y'all got both. Got to worry twice as much. Protect them from nut jobs. Now, of course, speaking of nut jobs, the nut jobs that come out of the woodwork on Twitter, as previously mentioned. Fred Shank's post. You think for a second this ain't somebody with national money ain't fighting this? Some lady from Australia somehow following a state rep from Rankin County here in Mississippi. Make it make sense. She gets under there. She's like, this is a hate bill, basically. I click on this lady's profile because I don't think it's actually a lady. I think it's a ma'am. It's ma'am. I think it's one of those. And it says, Australia, from Australia. I'm like, how about you worry about your COVID death camps and you let us worry about our bathrooms? Yeah, Australia got a lot it needs to worry about before they get to worry about Mississippi's bathroom situation. And of course, you know, if you go to reading this stuff, and then some lady was like, well, what about my 14-year-old trans? Let me see if I can unpack this word salad here. My 14-year-old trans boy. And he needs to use the bathroom, but he has to go to the he has to go to the girls' bathroom, but he looks like a boy. I was like, ma'am. That's why you should have stopped the nonsense at the tomboy phase. And in your best Cat Williams voice, you should have looked right over at your daughter and said, you are a girl. You're not a boy. Period. And if they're being indoctrinated into some nonsense online, take the dang computer away. And here's the part. Now, I'm being serious here because I don't want this to get confused. It is an overwhelming majority of these kids that are being converted into trans are on the spectrum of autism. I mean, there's a lot of data that backs this up. I'm not about to go Googling it and diving into it here in the middle of the show. You don't believe me? Do your own homework. They get in, they get online, they get in these algorithms, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, YouTube. And they get hyper, if you've ever been around anybody on the spectrum, they get hyper focused on one thing. And I actually enjoy the company of people on the spectrum. Because if one of them knows something because they're honest, they cannot lie. There's something in them that does not allow them to tell a lie. I mean, now they're telling themselves a big lie about this transgender stuff, but they believe it. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. I mean, they believe it. But if you ever want to know the truth, find somebody with Asperger's or on the autism spectrum. They can't lie to you. They're going, does this outfit look good today? No. Thank you. So anyway, I feel bad because I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess this woman's kid is on the spectrum. If it's a girl and at 14 years old is convinced it's a boy. But at the end of the day, you still got some parenting to do. I'm sure somebody's going to clip this out and it's going to be taken out of context, but whatever. That's what I should name this show. Clay Edwards, out of context. You start beating that kid a little bit, putting that hand to that backside. You are not a boy. We're taking the G.I. Joe dolls away. Play with these Barbie dolls. Whee! All right. I just wanted to put all that out there. we got some folks down at the Capitol. I say all that to say this. We got some good folks at the Capitol that are trying to make this right. And, of course, their fallback excuse was, oh, no, they turned it down. And I want to debunk something real quick. They said that the SAFE Act didn't pass because it didn't have tough enough penalties in it. The original. But they didn't say that when they did it. They ignored the press. They didn't have a plan in place. They didn't have a press release together. The man who wrote the bill, Josh Harkins, is quoted not even knowing why it was why it was rejected. I mean, maybe look, admittingly, I've never been a part of passing bills, writing bills, but I think there's a common courtesy enough to tell a man why you didn't let his bill out of conference, especially if it was something for the extent of, well, man, look, hey, we didn't let this one out because the penalties weren't strong enough. So you know what we're going to do? We're not going to pass any bill concerning men and women's restrooms. And again, this also handles school locker rooms. So people want to pretend, oh, Clay, it's just about 1 in a million chance in the bathroom, da-da-da-da-da. I don't want a guy walking around, Aaliyah Thomas, walking around a locker room with my child, my mother, my wife, my grandkids in the future. We're fighting for that. Somebody was barking at me on Twitter this morning. You know, they keep calling this like a 1 in a million. Why are y'all fighting this? Why aren't you? Why aren't you fighting it? You know, a lot of lessons were learned when we gave up Jackson to the insurgents, when we lost Jackson. You know, people didn't want to offend people. People were scared of being called racist. People just said, threw their hands up, said, I'm not dealing with this. And we didn't fight. We didn't fight to save Jackson. But that doesn't mean lessons weren't learned. Well, you can't give up an inch to the insurgency. You have to fight at the moment they start trying this nonsense. Today it's bathrooms. Tomorrow it's transgender flags flying in public school classrooms. That's why we fight. Let's take a break. To the Clay Edwards Show. We're live here on WYAB all throughout Central Mississippi on the airwaves, 103.9 FM. Hey, guys, you heard the commercial there. Stonington Farms. You got today and tomorrow to get your orders in. I'm sorry, you got today. Heck, tomorrow's Friday already. Where did the week go? Anyhow, today, get your orders in. Get the grass-fed difference. 100% grass-fed, 100% grass-finished, Mississippi-sourced, mRNA-free, antibiotic-free, and steroid-free beef. I made a casserole the other night. I guess that's what you call it. It's a beef stir-fry. I've been eating on it for about 3 days. So good. I use my Stonington Farm hamburger meat, and they got a special right now with Stonington. You buy X amount of hamburger meat and get a roast with it at a discount. Check out their website, stoningtonfarm.com. It's Stonington with 2 N's. And on the Mazda of Jackson phone line, we'll say that this interview is brought to you by Stonington Farm. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, our very own Mike Madison. Mike, what's up, brother?
Oh, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. You still eating your Stonington Farm?
When I can, you know, I'm on the road, so occasionally I'm home on delivery day. But I got a big old shipment last time, and I load up a big cooler with it, and I take it on the road with me every time.
Heck yeah. We bought 30 pounds of hamburger meat on the last one. I don't know if I really need anything this time, but I hate to get hung up in the middle of the month with nothing. So a little prevent defense, go ahead and stock up a little extra.
It is good stuff.
Hey, the bone broth is really good. You know, I've been fasting again ever since me and you talked the other day, and a little bit of bone broth in the middle of the day, just kind of something to just put something in your stomach, a little protein after working out or whatever, and still trying to fast. Man, it's really, really helped.
Yeah, it's good for that gut lining too.
Is it? Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got Michael. Mike's on his way to go see the Rolling Stones, but so he's taking some time to chat with us this morning. Mike, I saw something last night on the internet. You were the first person I thought of. You're the resident Libertarian. I saw that the hair Donald Trump himself is going to be the speaker or one of the speakers at the Libertarian National Convention this summer.
Yeah.
And just my initial reaction, this is before I read Dave Smith or anything else. All I saw was that flyer I sent you. I said, man, I like this. I don't see, it brings a lot of attention to the Libertarian Party. It gives Trump an opportunity to speak to people that I think he needs to be talking to, frankly, and understanding it's way more than just left and right in the world. There is I consider libertarian center, but that's just my opinion. So what do you think about it? You're the libertarian.
Well, I think it's a good move by the Libertarian Party. Now, I will say they invited Trump and Biden.
Correct.
Obviously, Biden cannot make public appearances because he is a potted plant. But they invited both of them. I think it's pretty genius as far as, the Libertarian Party. We could talk about it for the next 30 minutes. It's a bit of a train wreck. I love the people in it, a lot of smart people in it, but it's just never really gotten its stuff together, And so I think this is a good move to try to raise their profile and get some recognition that they need it. Now, I would say I think the value would be more that rather than listening to Trump and Trump talking to the Libertarian Party, I think the value would be the Libertarian Party talking to and Trump listening to them.
See, well, me too. And that was my initial reaction. If he'll listen and they actually gets to have a conversation with these people, and then not just shouting them down and all that stuff, and they can actually talk like adults, I think Trump stands to gain more from this than they do.
Oh, absolutely. And that's been one of the things the Libertarian Party has been kind of screaming. Okay, so, Stephen Utroska and I have kind of a running debate. He believes that it is a waste to vote for a Libertarian candidate. It's never going to work. You need to reform the Republican Party. I actually agree with that. That's the path to least resistance. If you actually want more freedom and smaller government, less debt to no debt, and zero taxes, these kinds of things to reform the Republican Party. It just doesn't seem to work. I think that the Libertarian argument has been, look, we're 4 to 5% of the population. If the Republicans would just start governing the way that they talk, the Republicans talk a big libertarian game. You always hear small, limited government from the Republicans, but then they govern and they grow the government and they grow the debt and they grow the empire. They grow everything, but they talk libertarian, and the Libertarian Party has been saying, look, we're 4 to 5%. We tilt the scale. You get libertarians on board with a real libertarian-leaning Republican, somebody like Ron Paul back in the day when Republicans, for some mystifying reason, chose John McCain and Mitt Romney over Ron Paul when he ran. But if the Republicans would put together a real libertarian-leaning Republican candidate, it's a huge winner. You get 4 to 5% extra of the vote in elections that are typically decided by 1 to 2%. Of course, we're assuming that elections are legitimate, and we all all know that may not be the case.
And I had to put that asterisk on the beginning of every conversation I make about any of this nonsense.
Right.
Let's just play make believe here for a minute and pretend elections are all above board. But
right. Do voters even really matter, or is this just all one big pageant?
Well, apparently, money doesn't really matter when it comes to our government, until it comes to taking yours.
Right.
So Dave Smith. I want to circle back to him real quick. He had a great reply to this. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just thought the opening line said it all. He says, "I know there." And you can explain to people who Dave Smith is. I don't know if I even have the best definition of it, or explanation. But he says, I know there are some libertarians who have a severe allergy to relevance. And I just thought he could have stopped right there and would have been dead on.
You have to kind of understand the mind of libertarians. Libertarians, a lot of them, and of course every party's got their share of nut jobs and just strange people and people that are out there. But, the reason I'm a libertarian is that I've thought a lot about the issues. We read a lot of political philosophy, regular philosophy, study a lot of economics. I'm a self-professed economics nerd. I'm very interested in foreign policy. And so you get libertarians that can be very, very purist, and it's very self-defeating because, it's pretty much it's either perfect or nothing. And you see where that's gotten the Libertarian Party over the past 50 years now. It was started in the 1970s. It gets them absolutely nowhere. I think there are some things you don't compromise on, but libertarians can just really get inside their head. And, I heard you talking earlier about autism. Libertarians laugh at themselves to say, they're they're full of a bunch of autistic adults, who are just trapped inside their own minds sometimes. So libertarians have just been really allergic to kind of playing the game. And I don't mean compromising. I don't like that stuff at all. But kind of, they need to sell themselves to the American people. Americans like to be sold something. They are not going to think deeply about an issue. You don't have a lot of time to explain things to people. You need a package to sell them something. And having Trump come speak is at least getting you a window to get a few minutes of people's time to say, hey, there's this other party out there. I would say some people don't even really realize they have a choice. When I tell people I'm opposed to many of the things about Donald Trump, immediately their first thing is, oh, I guess you love Biden. Well, no, of course not. I mean, it's just ridiculous, but that's kind of where we're trapped. And the Libertarian Party, I think at a time where everybody's fed up with $34 trillion in debt and a new trillion every 100 days, foreign funding of all of these wars, taxation that's through the roof, inflation, which libertarians are the only party will actually explain to you is money printing and government spending that causes it, because the two political parties try to blame each other, which is ridiculous. So the libertarians, they need their moment to inject some things. This is a time where it would be a libertarian slam dunk if they were good with their message and they had somebody good to sell it to the American people. But unfortunately, that eludes that party.
All right, hold that thought. Can you do another segment with us?
Yeah.
All right, we got Mike Madison on the Mazda Jackson phone line. We're going to come back. I got a few other questions from Mike concerning the Libertarian Party, and I would like to get his take on the reclassification of marijuana and see what he thinks about that. He was a big driving force in medical marijuana getting approved in Mississippi, whether you realize that or not. So I want his take on that. He'll always have something intelligent to say. This is the Clay Edwards Show, and we'll be right back here on WYAB. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show here on the Mazda of Jackson phone line. We're going to go back to Mike Madison. Mike, you still there, brother?
I am, sir.
Man, appreciate you staying on hold for us. Hey, look, so we were talking about like messaging with and for people just tuning in, we got Mike Madison. He has a show here if you don't know. It's every Tuesday and Wednesday, or is it every Wednesday and Thursday? It's every Wednesday and Thursday. Sorry, I forgot. We do the Americans for Prosperity thing on Tuesday. Every Wednesday and Thursday, 9 to 10. He was here 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, but life pulled him in other directions. But we're still glad we get to get a twice a week dose of Mike Madison. Mike's what we call our in-house libertarian, and I stumbled across the fact that Trump is going to be speaking at their convention this summer and wanted Mike's opinion on it. And in the last topic, Mike, you brought up messaging by the Libertarian Party. If you were the head of marketing, what would the messaging be for the Libertarian Party going into an election year, or frankly, any time?
This government's completely out of control. The Libertarian Party is, and I'm not a spokesman for the Libertarian Party. I want to be clear about that. I'm really more of a small L libertarian, and I think there's so many conservatives out there who are like me. Just leave me alone. Just shut up. Get out of my life. Politics has invaded every nook and cranny of our life, and I think people are sick of it. It's dividing us. I think conservatives have a problem with some levels of freedom that libertarians understand, but libertarians want to return the country to its founding principles, which is, God gave us rights. The government is there to protect those rights, not to decide which ones we can exercise at what time. I mean, we live now by permission. And so if I was, and I think libertarians say these things, they don't have a good organizational structure to, and a great messenger. They need somebody exciting. They need a Trump style. You see, a libertarian just won the presidency in Argentina, Javier Milei. I mean, the guy is he's been compared to Trump, although he's very different in his philosophy on a lot of things. I mean, he is a true libertarian. He is slashing government. He, within a few months, balanced the budget of Argentina, which has had just soaring deficits and currency crisis and hyperinflation. It's too early to know if he'll be successful, but he's the real deal. But he broke through the matrix in Argentina, if he's not a plant, and I still have some suspicions. I'm suspicious of everybody. But
me too. I like him on the surface. I do. Yeah, but, man, but it's almost too good to be true.
Right. You're exactly right. We're so jaded now. We're so tired of having the rug pulled out from underneath us. We just can't trust anybody, and I think that's healthy in today's time. I don't think you should trust anybody, make them prove themselves. But, the bottom line is my views as a libertarian are I want to go back to what the founders envisioned for this country. We fought a revolutionary war over 3% tax. People are now taxed between 40 and 50%. There's not a person listening to this radio show that has worked a single day for themselves yet this year. We have not reached Tax Freedom Day. And so it's not very difficult for people to understand the message of the Libertarian Party. It's just they have a tough time getting it out. But and I'll say also, the two major parties, Republicans and Democrats, both do put every hurdle in front of them. They won't allow them on the debate stage. They're never going to allow a libertarian to be on the debate stage, the libertarian candidate. They put up roadblocks for ballot access. They do everything to fix the game. Everybody talks about how the 2020 election was fixed. Well, talk to a libertarian. We've been getting screwed for 50 years.
Well, let me say this.
Trying to even get access to the ballot, much less what happens at the polling places. So, the libertarian message should be popular. Some people can't handle all the freedom. They believe that, most people believe I should be free because I'm a good, upstanding person, but I can't trust my neighbor with all that freedom. I think that, you can't pick and choose your freedoms. We're either a free people or we're not. And right now we are not.
All right. Two points. Back to the tax paying stuff. You said this one time and it really resonated. We've been so pistol whooped into this current society of taking all of our money and giving it to the government that we now brag about calling ourselves good tax paying citizens. I pay my taxes. And,
it's a badge of honor.
and then you mentioned the libertarians not being allowed on the debate stage. Mike, I know you like fighting and stuff. You like athletic competition, fighting, whether it's boxing, MMA, any of that stuff. The one thing you don't want to do is run across a guy with nothing to lose. And that's how I look at them allowing the libertarians on stage. Republicans and Democrats both have a lot to lose. A libertarian, kind of like Trump in 2016, when he got up on that debate stage, he didn't have anything to lose. And he just threw haymakers. And you see where it got him. And they're scared to death of that happening again.
Yeah, well, the Republicans themselves had a libertarian moment with Ron Paul. And I watched all kinds of things. They would run polls, and Ron Paul would win a poll. And so they would just take the poll down. Or they would just take his name off of it and say, well, he's got no chance to win, so we're not even going to use him. And it was very famous back in 2008. So, the Republican Party has done everything they can to talk libertarian, but to actually challenge anybody who has those ideas.
All right, shifting gears here, kind of in the same vein. I know what you're going to say on this, but finally, the Biden administration decided to use a, pun intended, Trump card and reclassify, not quite decriminalize, but reclassify marijuana down to, level 4 or something like that. Anyway, it's supposed to be the same as Tylenol and steroids, which I didn't know that Tylenol and steroids were classified in the same, because I can get pulled over. I can go to jail if I get pulled over with steroids. I can buy Tylenol off the shelf. So that aside, what do you think about them finally making a move to somewhat decriminalize marijuana?
Well, I mean, I think anything that keeps people out of a cage for consuming a plant is a good thing, and it's been trending in that direction. But this is pandering by the Biden administration. He's a drug warrior. He's responsible for bills that have locked up more black Americans than any other politician out there, with his crime bill and everything else that involved drugs. But the bottom line, this is somewhere where I lose conservatives, the drug war is a massive failure. And it is just echoing what we did with alcohol prohibition. Now, I'm not for people running around doing drugs all the time. Drugs are terrible for people. They're horrible for the brains of kids. There's all kinds of bad things you can say about drugs. I agree with you. But when they did prohibition against alcohol, immediately you had violence in the streets. You had gangs, bloom around it. People still drank, and they died from drinking because they were brewing it in bathtubs. And so within 13 years, the American voter went, oh, my gosh, this did not work. Everybody's still drinking. They're dying. And now we got violence in the streets. We're now 50 years and 60 years into the hardcore war on drugs. And we had the exact same thing that happened during alcohol prohibition, but we don't seem to have any appetite for unwinding the whole thing. And so the drug war is just a massive failure with a bunch of horrible unintended consequences. If Biden wants to do his little bit of pandering like he's doing with student loans, he's just trying to buy votes, again, assuming it matters. But it's not near far enough for me. The idea that the government needs to dictate anything that you consume in your body is a complete, nothing gets less free than telling me what I can and cannot do with my own body if I'm not affecting anybody else.
True enough. And of course, and that's where a lot of not to go down the abortion rabbit hole, but that's where some of the abortion battle comes, or hypocrisy maybe even comes into play. And I just always say that affects another body. So
yeah, exactly.
We're out on that one.
I think that is a very, very different issue. While I understand that some people believe it's the same, it is not. There is nobody else involved if I decide to sit down and smoke a joint in my home.
Well, it's like,
which I don't, by the way, but anyway.
Sure. It's why I've been raising unmitigated hell for the 3 years I've been on here about these fruitless endeavors to ban kratom. And then it was flavored vapes. I've never smoked a cigarette or a flavored vape in my life. That is the honest to God truth on my hand on a Bible. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life or vaped. And I've smoked plenty of other things. I'll be clear. I'm not acting like I'm an angel, but I fight for those things. Because one day, if we keep allowing the government to continue to roll up and ban things, and you sit back and you say to yourself, I don't vape, I don't take kratom, I don't vape, one day they're going to come for something you do. And you're going to be like, well, what happened? Why isn't anybody helping me fight my fight? Well, you didn't help us.
Yeah, it's kind of like maybe wanting to go to church when there's a virus floating around. Suddenly the government tells you can't do that. Long before COVID on my show, I would say, you people who think you can pick and choose your freedoms and trust the government with taking care of you, they will come for what you want to do. And they did. They came for your business. They came for your kids' schools. They came for your churches. They shut everything down. They came for conservative speech. They started censoring people. They put people in jail for protesting on January 6th. So this idea that and this is, I believe, a big flaw of conservatives. They believe that, and I used to be, I am from being a Kool-Aid drinking neocon warmongering Republican in the 1990s. So I understand where I'm speaking of. Republicans believe if you just get your people in charge of this massive government and they make the decisions, then everything will be. I don't believe that's the case. And I think we've got over 100 years now of saying this government dictating everything we can do. We have to get permission to go fishing. We have to get permission to hunt. In some places, you have to get permission to collect rainwater. We live by the permissions of the government, and enough is enough. It doesn't matter if it's kratom or marijuana or rainwater. The government is in every nook and cranny of our life, and they need to get out.
Mike Madison, thank you so much. Enjoy the Rolling Stones. Your show comes up next as soon as this one's over at 9 o'clock today. What you talking about?
I can't even remember, to be honest with you. I pre-record these shows. It's a rant of some type.
Wait, look, brother,
check it out.
We appreciate it. Enjoy the Stones, and we'll catch up here soon.
Thanks, sir. Y'all have a good one.
Peace out. Mike Madison, he's here every Wednesday and Thursday, 9 to 10. You can always check out his podcast. Just search Mike Madison wherever you download podcasts and all that fun stuff. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Guys, we don't have but a minute here, 30 seconds. When we come back, I think we're going to have Russ Latino with us. If not, we'll push it back to the next segment, efforting that now. If not, I got a topic I want to hit a section of Baton Rouge has seceded from Baton Rouge. I like it. Could that work in Jackson? I believe so. It kind of has with the CCID. It worked at Buckhead with Buckhead in Atlanta. Anyway, this is Clay Edwards Show. We will be right back.
Shout out to Bass Records. Hey, yo, Hunter. Roll up another one of them congressional blunts, brother. He was gonna get his laptop fixed, but Hunter got high. He wasn't gonna show all them dick pics, but Hunter got high.
All right, you tune back into the Clay Edwards Show. How about a little Afro Man, a little based Afro Man, bringing us back from the break there. His brand new, and I'm not exaggerating, hit single. It was number one on the Apple Music hip hop charts. It was above Taylor Swift's latest single in the overall charts. Afro Man has reimagined his number one smash hit, Because I Got High, and it's now called Hunter. Because Hunter got high. You need to go to YouTube, Rumble, wherever. Find the video. It is hilarious. Shout out to my old buddy Afro Man. I shared a picture on Facebook the other day. You know, some of y'all may remember me from another life. I used to have a bar out in Byram called Crazy 8 and one downtown in Jackson. Afro Man was a regular at my establishments, and when he came to town, he crashed at my house. So there's a photo of me, my two girls when they were babies, and Afro Man in my kitchen. And you know what? This is a true story. One of the funniest parts of that is my youngest daughter, Kylie. She could barely talk, but she knew that Afro Man had eaten her brownies. And he did. He got up in the middle of the night one night and cleaned out the fridge. There was no brownies left. I have no idea why Afro Man would have had the late night hunger pains. No idea why Afro Man would have been hungry late at night. Anyway, it's a great family portrait there with Afro Man in the kitchen. So good people. I never knew Afro Man's politics. Of course, we didn't talk about those kind of things in 2002, 2003. We just talked about, getting high. Drinking, partying. I remember I knew I had taken a wrong turn in life and I probably needed to evaluate myself. When I'm riding with Afro Man to a show from Jackson up to Greenville, this bar called One Block East, I think is what it was called. We're riding up there and Afro Man's the designated driver. I felt like it was time to come back home and have a long look in the mirror. Clay, point at myself. Afro Man should never be the designated driver. Time to slow down. Slow your roll, son. I did not take my own advice for another decade. But Afro Man back, check it out. Because Hunter Got High. It is hilarious. Kudos to seeing just based music returning. And of course, lefties, they're mad. They mad. Yahoo Music wrote a scathing article about it. Anyway, so check that out. Check out Acme Pizza and Daiquiris as well. 12 different specialty pizzas, 9 different frozen daiquiris, right out there, Fannin Mart on the Reservoir. Always available for carry-out, delivery, and, of course, sit down. Get in. Enjoy it. Nice little atmosphere in there. It's not too bright. And you can have a conversation. They got live music on Friday and Saturdays, whether it be whether it's Chris Davis on the guitar. Our very own Chris Davis, by the way, here at WYAB. He hosts the Friday show, the music show on Friday since Jim retired. He's also our news guy. So if you hear the local news, that is Chris. He does the one-man acoustical jam type stuff there at Acme on Friday nights. And then on Saturday nights, they have been doing like a retro throwback 80s, 90s, 2000s DJ. Of course, no cover charge ever. So get out there and enjoy it. Acme Pizza and Daiquiris. All right, man, we are still efforting Russ to talk about hopefully to talk about this referendum. They're going to send the Medicaid thing to the ballot. Of course, it may not happen. That's just what the House wants to do. The Senate probably ain't going to be about that life. But I tell you, whether I like it going to the ballot and them avoiding making a tough decision, yada, yada, yada. I like Jason White throwing his cojones on the table and putting Delbert in a bad situation. Because I bet Delbert was out in the yard screaming at the clouds mad last night when this hit. They have not been able to get anything done down there. Lindsey Beckham text said that Joey, the guy I just spent the first hour talking about, was on Gallo's show this morning, lying about trying to cover his butt about the Joey Hood. I'm having a brain fart. Joey Hood was lying on Gallo, lying about this whole SAFE Act, dying in a conference. I mean, look, bro, your resume. The resume says, I mean, it died in conference. You're the committee chairman. End of discussion. You picked politics over the safety of our women and children. There is no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. You had one job. You didn't do it. Played politics. Pro-pedo, as far as I'm concerned. I know, harsh words, but I'm going to start acting like Democrats. I'm going to start going to the worst case scenario. Whatever the worst case scenario is, the worst possible outcome, I'm going to start doing that when it comes to this stuff. Because it seems to work, Democrats throw a hissy fit. And all they talk about is the worst case scenario. Well, that's what I'm going to start doing. We're going to start fighting fire with fire. When I sold cars, especially used cars, a conversation that would come up a lot if we didn't put brand new tires on a car, especially women. I love women. Obviously, I'm fighting for y'all right now, peeing away all my political capital by calling these people out. But women always go to worst case scenario. You'd have a car. It wouldn't have brand new tires. You know, maybe it was priced based on the tires that were on it, instead of having to put $1,000 set of tires on it, whatever the case may be. This lady one time looks at me and says, "But this thing needs tires. What if I have a blowout, the car flips, I reckon I die?" I said, "Or what if you have a blowout and you pull over on the side of the road and get it fixed?" And it was in that moment that I learned, well, there was many moments leading up to that I'd also learned this lesson, but it was reminded that people will, in fact, blow things completely out of proportion and go to whatever the worst case scenario is. And that's what Democrats are doing with everything. So that's what we should do, is whatever, and call our own side out. What you all should be doing is watching what's going on these college campuses right now. Watching all these Free Palestine people. Go back and watch 2020 with the BLM riots. The left gets what it wants because they show their baboon butts. Period. That's how they get what they want. We don't do that. We don't apply pressure to conservative leaders like we should. There are people that do. There are a small group of, for the lack of a better term, grassrooters that do. But in mass, we don't. We'll get on Facebook, we'll say something, and that's it. We'll share something. I'm angry. Then on to the next thing. You know, one of the biggest, I think this is a great example here. Let me make this about me for a second. One of the best examples I have of this week, as a matter of fact. Jameson always talks about wishing people would pay as much attention to what's going on in their own state as they do college football, college sports in general. Here's the period at the end of that sentence. I made a video the other day. There's a guy that played basketball at Ole Miss. Some articles said current player. Some articles said former player. I chose to refer to him as a current player. That's what WJTV said. I went with them. So I put this article up, and I make a video. The guy was getting his car repoed. This is in Oxford, getting his car repoed. He shoots at the repo man. Now, it ain't like the repo man's out there with a Slim Jim. He's got the repo truck backed up, getting the car. You know you're 2 or 3 payments behind. I mean, you know if you paid your bills or not. It ain't a mystery. I had a car get repoed one time. I walked out my driveway, my vehicle wasn't there no more. I didn't call the police. I took that L. It was after the nightclubs went out of business and I was struggling to find what I wanted to do in life. Wasn't working right before I got into the car business. It was at that moment I realized, well, I might as well go sell cars because another nightclub ain't falling out the sky. So you know that your vehicle's being repoed. It ain't no mystery. You ain't in Jackson. You're in Oxford. I'm going to go on a limb here without knowing the crime stats in Oxford. Auto burglary or grand theft auto is probably not an epidemic in Oxford, Mississippi. I've been to Oxford for a couple football games and for the Morgan Wallen concert last year. Beautiful city. Still don't like Ole Miss, but beautiful city, Hell State. Anyway, so I made this video joking around. I said, well, I guess the NIL check bounced because old fella got his car repoed here and decides to shoot at him. I really don't think nothing of it. I read the article. It really was not like a shot at Ole Miss. It was just a joke, a funny. In my mind, it was funny anyway. And I uploaded the video, not just to TikTok, but straight to Twitter also. A couple hotty-toddy hashtags later, Ole Miss fans are big mad. Big mad. I guess I call the guy a star basketball player. Man, look, if you play big-time college basketball in the SEC, you were a star player at some point. You may ride the bench in college, but you were a star player at some point if you get to play basketball in the SEC. You weren't a bench warmer in high school if you get that big-time college basketball, if you get to play big-time college basketball, period. Not to get lost in the weeds there. But Ole Miss fans were so mad at me for calling him a current player or a star player. I mean, just attacked me, acting like Democrats. Well, I guess a lot of them are. Acting like Democrats. You're ugly, you're dumb, you're stupid, your show sucks. Yada, yada, yada. But not a single one of them disavowed him for shooting at the repo man. All they were upset about was the NIL joke, insinuating that an Ole Miss check bounced. I mean, they were tagging the Walker guy that runs the Grove Collective, all this stuff. I'm like, man, I just pissed off all of Black TikTok last week and had them coming at me, 20,000 comments deep. And I'm still swinging, still standing. Just like my tattoo on my forearm says, still standing. You think I'm worried about some fake profiles on Twitter? Some fake sports profiles on Twitter? Dude, y'all are so weak that you are scared to attach your name to your Twitter profile to talk sports smack. You think your sports takes are so hot, so saucy, that you're going to get fired for a sports smack talk? You're stupid. And this ain't just Ole Miss fans. This is State fans. This is all of them. None of y'all would last a day when the Civil War pops off. If you're worried about getting in trouble for sports smack, I don't want you in my foxhole. I don't want you on my team. Your assistance is not needed. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Breaking rules all the time. I kind of quit saying that a lot. But anyway, A1 Gear and Auto, they don't break the rules down there. They just do it right the first time. Go over there. See Justin and his team today. Highway 49 South in Florence, Mississippi. That's A1 Gear and Auto for all of your automotive repair needs. Need brakes? Check. Check engine light on. Let them find out what's going on with it. Let them get it properly diagnosed and come up with a path to getting it taken care of. I know this is going to feel like I'm attacking some of y'all, but just clearing the code is not actually fixing the problem. I'm guilty of this as well. Like, oh, look, the code went away. Car's fixed. I've even tried to outsmart the code, and I'll just put like a picture of my kid or girlfriend over the over the check engine light or that pesky TPMS light. Anyway, get over there, check them out, man. They can get you taken care of. What they specialize in is your ring and pinion. So if you're having any issues with your rear end, your front end, your all-wheel drive, any of that stuff, let them get it diagnosed and taken care of. They're going to price competitively, but more importantly, it's going to be done right, and it's going to be done when they tell you it's going to be done. If he tells you Thursday at 4 o'clock and you got to get an Uber ride there Thursday at 4 o'clock and you want to schedule that Uber ride a week out, you can just about mark it in, etch it in marble that it's going to be ready at 4 o'clock unless there's some kind of issue with getting parts. You're going to be able to plan your downtime without your vehicle based on when you're going to get it back. So anyway, A1 Gear and Auto, Florence, Mississippi. Tell them I sent you. Big white building, big red sign. As soon as you pass through Richland, get into Florence, it's right there on your right, directly before you get to the Gunner Road red light that they just installed there at A1 on 49. All right. Well, we had a call. Mazda Jackson phone line, 601-879-0002. Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. Be sure to get out to Guns and Gear today for all your gun buying, accessory buying, Cerakoting, and gunsmithing needs. And, of course, they do buy guns as well. Located right there at 51 North in Gluckstadt at Yandell Road. Oh, let's see here. I don't know if I want to rehash that, but circling back real quick to that last conversation. Again, that sounded like it was I'm just blindly attacking Ole Miss fans. It ain't y'all. It's period. State fans would have done the same thing. Alabama fans would have done the same thing. And that's the problem. I am all for a good distraction. I'm all for sports. I'm all for concerts. Y'all know me. I love concerts. But there's time you got to take things serious too. And I just think that if you're scared of the blowback from saucy sports takes, from your hot takes on sports, if you're scared of that blowback, I know you can't handle the culture war fight. I mean, if you're using a fake profile to troll another fan base, I know you weak-kneed. Period. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care anything. If you're scared to put your name on your profile and use your real name, I know I'm supposed to say something different here, but I'm just telling you how I feel. I don't like anonymity online. I think you should have to put your name beside your comments. Deal with the fallout. Deal with the consequences. Don't scream about free speech and then hide behind anonymity. If everybody did this, they can't fire everybody. They can't cancel everybody. The nonsense would stop. I don't like the anonymity online. I'm just going to tell you. That's why I walk it like I talk it. And you see my name and my face on all of my products, on all of my pages. That's why I don't use the Save Jackson logo anymore. Put my face up there. Not that you didn't know who Save Jackson was. I'm just making a point. I sign my name to every post I make. There's consequences. There's repercussions. There's a lot of rewards too. It ain't all, trust me, it ain't all bad. I wouldn't wake up and continue to do it every day. A lot of perks that come with telling the truth. Shocking development. People like hearing the truth. How weird. I mean, I tell you all the time, I'm not the most articulate guy. But the truth rises above an articulate lie. I want to hit something I just saw on Twitter, shifting gears completely. I've mentioned it at the end of the last hour. Anytime Ashton Pittman with the Mississippi Free Press is mad about something, I know that I'm probably going to like whatever he doesn't. I don't know that we've ever been on the same page on anything. So this is from @LeadingReport on X, Twitter. Breaking. Louisiana Supreme Court has voted to allow residents to secede from Democrat-run Baton Rouge and create their own city. The new city, St. George, will have nearly 100,000 people, making it one of the state's largest cities in population. Quote, "This is the culmination of citizens exercising their constitutional rights," Andrew Morrell, a leader of the effort to create the city, said in a statement, adding, quote, "Now we begin the process of delivering on our promises of a better city." And of course, there's a photo of them. It's mostly all white folks, if not all white folks. And of course, Ashton says Baton Rouge is a 52% black city. Look at the photo below and you'll get what succeeding is about here. Man, are they not allowing black folks to move in? You know, of those 100,000 people, ain't no black folks. People are fed up with the crime in these urban areas. Period. I bet you if you pulled the crime stats back in Baton Rouge, that 90% of it is committed by that 52%. And that's just the facts, unfortunately. People don't want to live around chaos if they ain't got to. But also, like I mentioned earlier, you know, we gave up Jackson to the insurgents. But lessons were learned. And now coming back and peeling some of it back for people, black and white, that want to live safely. Now, the school system's lost. It's never coming back. If you've got kids, you don't need to live in Jackson. Unless you can afford to send them to private school. That's just an unfortunate, sad fact. That if you live in Jackson and you have kids, I think you're being selfish. I think you need to move to the suburbs, use the public schools. Because JPS ain't it. I don't care what stats they've gerrymandered to make it look like they've gotten better, any of that stuff. JPS ain't it. Do other school systems have their problems? They have kids that show up with guns, all that stuff. Yep, everywhere. It happens. It happens. Dumb kids, bad parents live everywhere. Believe that or not. And I won't even say a kid taking a gun to school makes him a bad kid. When I went to school, we had gun racks with our guns in the gun rack. A kid having a gun in his car doesn't necessarily make him a bad kid to me. Sorry. You know, he shouldn't run his mouth and brag about having it. because that just never seems to work out. But I don't even, that's not indicative of him being a bad kid or his parents being bad parents. Anyway, circling back to the Baton Rouge thing. Sake style. Circling back. I like it. Somebody tagged me in the post and said, Clay, this is what they should do in Jackson. Man, the thing that people forget about Jackson when they talk about this kind of stuff, like, oh yeah, like Fondren and Belhaven should secede from Jackson. The hell they shouldn't. Or the hell they should. They voted for most of this. Is what they want. They're progressives. They would be, most of them, I would say 95% of them, don't have the backbone to try anything like this. Because they're scared of people like Brad Franklin, Chokwe Lumumba, getting on the internet and calling them racist. They would rather suffer through being political prisoners than they would try to fight to not have to have a better life. Most of them all voted for Chokwe. Twice. They're getting what they want. They would rather do that and go along to get along than stand up and fight and possibly be called racist. That's why I love calling them racist, because it's the one thing they hate and despise more than anything. It's the one trump card they think they have on all conservatives. I'm going to call them a racist. I'm going to call you a racist. And we can stack our resumes up side by side, and I bet you are way more racist than I've ever thought about being. Anyway, I like it for the Baton Rouge folks. Congratulations. It worked in Buckhead over in Atlanta. They're like, if you got the money, you got the power. I mean, now, let's remove political biases here. Fondren and Belhaven should do this. I'd just like to sit back and see the crap show unfold. It would make for great radio. Make for great TV. Great YouTube content. Just seeing the absolute meltdown from the black power structure in Jackson. The free the land idiots. Let's see here. We got to take a break. We'll read some Guns and Gear text when we come back. This is the Clay Edwards Show on WYAB. Phone line 601-879-0002. Should part of Jackson secede from the rest of Jackson? Or should they have to deal with what they've voted their way into? This is the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Hey guys, you in the market for a pre-owned vehicle? May I recommend my friends out at Noel Daniels in Brandon, Mississippi. Man, get by there. See Daniel Freeman and Mr. Noel at Noel Daniels Motor Company. You may even run into Little Mort while you're there. Located right there on Woodgate Drive. If you're going down Highway 80 and you know where the Mazio's is, right there where the Cadence Bank used to be Bancorp South is, they're back behind that, between there and the interstate. It's really easy to find. I used to live on Woodgate, just on the other side. I was like, hey, this is really close to my house. Anyway, so it's super easy to find. Hey, maybe you're not in the market for a pre-owned vehicle. Maybe you want a golf cart. It's that time of the year. More and more neighborhoods are making golf carts street legal. And they've got the Icon cart. Super neat. Nice vehicle. You can check them out over at noeldaniels.cars. noeldaniels.cars. My buddy Bo Rogel over at Bo Knows Customs just customized one of their carts for them with a sound system, neon lights, all kind of neat stuff. You can have all that done on yours. Have the hottest golf cart on the block from Noel Daniels Motor Company. They really are cool. When they got the one they did the custom stuff on was fluorescent green. You know, my favorite rock band of all time is Poison. Their logo is fluorescent green. The golf cart's fluorescent green. I think I just talked myself into buying a golf cart. They can get my credit did. You can get me did. Just get me did. I'll take on a note for a golf cart. I heard they're about to legalize them if they hadn't already in downtown Brandon. I need to call Miss Sharon Womack, the alderman at large, and make sure I heard that right. Maybe Fred knows. Anyway, so they're legalizing golf carts on the streets in more and more places in these neighborhoods. Get over there and be the first one in your neighborhood or have the hottest golf cart on the golf course, that icon. And don't forget, they buy cars as well. Noel Daniels Motor Company. Check out their website, noeldaniels.cars. Sean texted me a second ago and said they actually tried to succeed. I can never say that word right. Secede? Is it secede? It's obviously not succeed, because that is the opposite of failure. To secede from Jackson. Back in 2021, there was a plan for Fondren and Belhaven to secede from Jackson. They were going to call it LaFleur's Bluff. But sometimes it's just more right than I plan on being. I say stuff. I don't really have any facts and data to back it up. I just go with my gut. That's why I tell y'all. I'll never lie, but sometimes I'm wrong. Well, I was not wrong this time. There were actually people in Fondren and Belhaven who didn't want to do it because they didn't want to be called racist. So they settled on the CCID and the Capitol Police as a consolation prize. Now, they've done great. That's no knock at them, obviously. But they could have been the LaFleur's Bluff Police Department. LBPD. Say that right? Yeah. LBPD. It even went to the legislature. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, I guess you got to work out the water system, how you're going to rent those pipes from the city, or the city still collects money on that. You work out your own garbage contracts. Oh, well, that's it. We know that they would fight this tooth and nail. You know, people over in West Jackson would be so mad if the tax base left. No, we're miserable. You got to be miserable too. Misery loves company. You can't have a safe neighborhood. We've run out of stuff to steal and pillage over here. We've got to be able to come into your area and know the police ain't going to do anything. Well, used to wouldn't do anything. Anyway, I could go on and on pretending to be a West or South Jacksonian. God. You know, it wasn't too terribly long ago that Jackson annexed a big part of Byram. And they haven't done so much as fill a pothole out there since. Annexed all of Forest Hill Road and the other part of Brooklyn that was in Byram just to hire a few more diversity, equity, and inclusion officers down at the city offices. Just to put a few more fancy couches in JPS headquarters. Hey, you get what you vote for. Elections have consequences. See, I'm going to tell y'all something. If all those people that lived in Fondren and Belhaven had kids, or they didn't have the ability to send their kids to private school, it would be a whole different conversation. But you got a lot of gay folks that live down there that don't have kids. That's not a knock. I'm just making a factual point. You got a lot of younger couples down there that don't have kids yet. And you've got a lot of people down there that make enough money to send their kids to prep or JA or wherever. I bet you can count on one hand, and probably not use all 5 fingers, how many white liberal kids that live in Fondren or Belhaven go to a Jackson public school. I'm just out of curiosity. I'm sure somebody can figure this out. How many white kids are enrolled in Jackson Public Schools? The whole thing. I bet it's less than 100. I bet it's less than 100. And I bet the overwhelming majority are in South Jackson. Mama done made some mistakes in life and back living off McDowell Road. You know, a buddy of mine messaged me a minute ago. He's a JPD officer. Said an idea for the show. This is something I'm quasi-conflicted on. I definitely see the bad. I definitely see the negatives. A lot of these sober living places, look, I support all that, but I understand the conflict. A lot of these sober living places are buying houses in really nice neighborhoods and basically turning them into halfway houses, and you get 6, 7, 8, 9 people living there fresh out of jail or on, rehabilitation, trying to sober up, all that kind of stuff. And, of course, a lot of mental illness comes with addiction. A lot of people who have addiction issues have also, conveniently enough, have mental illness issues, mental health problems. Some people sober up and they're just fine and they go on about their life. A lot don't, as y'all all know. But they're just talking about there's a crazy lady running around one of these neighborhoods. You got neighborhood children, all that around. And they put these sober living homes. See, I think these things are commercial. I think that they're running a commercial business, in my opinion, in these neighborhoods. Like, you shouldn't be able to have a nursing home in the middle of a neighborhood. You shouldn't be able to have a assisted living. You shouldn't be able to have a rehabilitation center in the middle of a neighborhood. There's an old church. There was like a seminary school out in North Jackson. I remember a few years ago, one of these rehabilitation clinics, because for whatever reason, Napoleon Polo was fighting for it. I think they were maybe paying him to be the voice to try to help talk the neighborhood into it. I even went to the neighborhood, to the meeting they had about it. And it got rowdy, son. They did not want that in their neighborhood. And at the time, I didn't really understand it because I thought, well, it's better than an abandoned college campus here in the middle of the neighborhood. But, my mind can change over time. And now I sit back and I'm like, well, man, these are a lot of homeowners out here still. These are good folks. They don't want that in the middle of their neighborhood. They don't want a bunch of people in rehabilitation or in a halfway house living in their neighborhood. The zoning, allowed it, but they raised hell against it. I don't know if it ever happened or not. I don't think it did. Let's take a break, come back, land the plane for the day. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. We got about 20 seconds left. Good show today. I enjoyed that. If I enjoyed it, I hope y'all did, because I am my toughest critic. We'll be back here tomorrow. We'll have Sean back in the studio with us, and we will run down a whole gamut of things. Maybe there'll be an update on the Trump trial worth talking about. See ya.